does have a particular concern about recording, please email me or set up a meeting with me so we can have a conversation about it. I'm happy to go without recording if you have qualms or concerns of any sort. Just wanted to check in to see. All right, so that's all of just the super setup stuff to this class. Now it's time to get to know each other. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to metaphorically go around the room. And by go around the room, I'm just going to sort of call on the participants on our participant list randomly. And I'm going to ask each one of you to say a few things. One thing I want you to do is tell us the name you go by. It might be different than the name that's on the roster, and I want to call you by your actual name, not the name that's on your roster, or you go by some variant or whatever. Optionally, you can let us know your pronouns, like she, her, hers, they, them, their, he, him, his. You don't have to if you don't want to, but you can if you want to. And the other thing I want you to do is tell us an interesting fact about someone you know. And by that I mean not you, someone else, another person that you know. So this is the, I guess I'll get started with this. My name is Sean. I will tell you my pronouns. They are he, him, and his. And an interesting fact about someone else that I know who's not me. I guess I'll tell you a fact about my wife. Both my wife and I are basketball fans, and right now there are a set of twins in the National Basketball Association. Their names are Brooke Lopez and Robin Lopez, and they're both 7 feet tall. They're both these like super tall guys. And for some weird, they're like identical twins as well. It's just one has like short hair and one has like long kind of wild hair. For some reason, my wife really likes one of the two twins and really doesn't like the other of the two twins. They're on the same team now, by the way. And when I asked her why, she said, "Oh, I heard Robin really likes Disney World and Disneyland and everything Disney. He's like a Disney nerd, and that made him really endearing to me." So that's just a little insight into my wife. She picks preferences based on stuff like that. That's it. It doesn't have to be a super interesting fact, just some random interesting fact about someone else who is not you. All right, so we're going to now metaphorically go around the room. If you could each do something along the lines of the same thing that I just did. And I'm just going to scroll down my participants list here I have in front of me. I see we have a student in here whose last name is, and I might be mispronouncing all your last names, so I apologize. But hopefully we'll not be going by last names in here. But I'd like the first person to go, who is a student whose last name is Gadaya. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? And you can either, unmute yourself. Looks like you're doing that. So.
Okay, hi. My last name is actually pronounced Gadala with 2 L's.
Ah, thank you.
But yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, it's fine. So my name is Amanda. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. And an interesting fact about, I'll say one about my sister. She is older than me, but she sometimes acts like she is younger than me. And
how does she act younger?
Well, there are just some times where she gets over emotional sometimes, and she just doesn't act her age with certain situations.
So you have to act like the older sibling, and sometimes calming her down.
Yeah.
Well, that's fun. It's practice for getting older and
Yeah.
helping take care of people. That's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, it's very nice to meet you, Amanda. I appreciate your interesting fact about your sister.
Nice to meet you too.
Mm-hmm. All right. Up next, we're going to go to a student whose last name is Dudley. You can either unmute your microphone and talk. You can also post in the chat if you prefer that over unmuting yourself, whatever your preference is. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, person whose last name is Dudley. I heard you unmute yourself. I can hear you type in.
Okay, I didn't know because it's still loading, I think. Hello?
No, yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. My name is Anaya Dudley. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And something interesting about someone else that's not me. My cousin Danielle, she did a study abroad in India for about a year. Last year. It was kind of like a gap year thing, but yeah.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't through like any official
No,
institution.
it was through Princeton.
Oh, nice. Very cool. But she doesn't go to Princeton, but she like did it through Princeton?
No, she goes to Princeton, but it was like
Oh, very cool.
a gap year. I don't really know how the program works, to be honest, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, okay. So like she'll still have to come back and like finish another
Yeah,
4
she's
years at
back like
Princeton.
this year.
Okay, very cool. What did she tell you that was like cool about her experience in India? Oh, I can't hear you anymore. Are you there? Oh, you there? I think we lost Anaya, unfortunately. We'll wait for Anaya to come back and we'll do some follow-ups because I'm curious about that gap year in India. But cool. On behalf of all of us, oh, I see her reconnecting. Let's see if I can stall a little bit as she comes back. Hi, y'all.
Hello.
Wasn't that a good stall technique? Oh, you're back.
Sorry.
Good. I tried to stall a little bit while you're gone. I asked, what did she tell you about her experience in India that sounded cool?
She was like, the food there is way better than Indian food here, which is probably really obvious. And
Really?
yeah, and she said that she rode bikes everywhere, which was
Oh,
funny.
that's cool.
And then
Nice.
she
Yeah.
was saying how she was used to like either I think it was not giving people things with her left hand, and now when she came back, it was kind of weird to do that.
Oh, right. She's sort of developed the habit at this point, right? Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
cultural norm. Interesting.
yeah.
Huh. Oh, cool. Well, it was very nice to get to know you, and I appreciate you telling us that.
No problem. You too.
Up next, we have a student whose last name is LaRose. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Are you there, student whose last name is LaRose? We'll do a little countdown. Wait, maybe somebody just posted in the chat. Oh, that stinks. You can, if you want, then just type in the chat, if that's okay. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, what your name is, and everything else that you want to that's on there. And I'll just read out what you can't say because your microphone's blocked. Are you typing stuff out right now? Student whose last name is LaRose? Just wanted to do a quick check-in. Awesome, we got it. Nice. So my name is Ashla LaRose, pronounced Ashla. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, I hope. Ashla. I identify as she, her. And an interesting fact about my brother is that he knows how to cook. I like that. Nice. Yeah, that's okay, Ashley. This happens. We're just going to have to be patient with each other. These live sessions are not always as live as they could be if we were in person, so it's okay. So when you say he knows how to cook, what's a thing that he's cooked recently that you've enjoyed? Oh, I'm assuming that he cooks for you. I don't even know, though. Uh, I'm guessing you're saying seafood, or just food. Like he just cooks foods, like all kinds. Nice, cool. I didn't know if that was a typo or he just like I don't know. He just like cooks food and stuff. Yeah, I like it. That's very cool. Very nice to meet you, Ashla. Up next, we're going to go to a student whose last name is Carter. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? All right, post it in the chat. Y'all can take a look there. I'll read for it. My name is Barbara. An interesting fact about my friend is that she can move her finger out of place and move it back. Ouch. Like it doesn't hurt your friend at all. Like she could just totally like disjoint or whatever. I don't know what that means. Like pop it out of. There aren't sockets in your finger. Whatever. Pop it out of whatever place. Ouch. I feel like I would be very queasy. She does it willingly. Wow. It's like a party trick. Oof. Oof. Yeah, I would get very queasy around that. I don't do well around those sorts of things. So it looks so nasty. Yeah, I bet. Yeah, I'm getting woozy just thinking about it. So not because I don't appreciate meeting you, Barbara, but we're going to move on just so that I don't pass out right now. Really nice to meet you, Barbara. I appreciate it. Up next, we're going to go to somebody on the participant list who's listed as caller 3006. I believe this is the only student who's called in on the phone. So if you could go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, my name is Samuel Stero. I'm studying psychology. An interesting fact about a friend is a good friend of mine has been working throughout the pandemic as a nurse. So I get a lot of interesting stories about the hospitals around this time.
Yeah, it's super important work, but it's also got to be particularly harrowing at this time. Is there any particular story you remember that your friend told you?
There's plenty. There's just so many that it's not coming to me right now. But there's so many.
Yeah.
Some are more. There's so many stories, but yeah, it's been interesting. She's been going through a lot, so just being there for her during this time has been very inspirational to me as well. So.
Well, that's good. Yeah, and it's good that you can be a friend and a support system for your friend in that sort of circumstance.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Really nice to get to know you, Samuel. I appreciate that.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Up next, we got a student I know. I won't spoil anything, though. It's a student whose last name on the roster is Zhu. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, so my name is Zhu Ceyuan. So you can call me Frank, or Franco. Yeah, Franco, Franco. So my pronouns is all of them, like she, her, hers, or he, him, his, or it, or they. It depends on different situations. And the interesting fact about someone I know, yeah, I have a friend who we called him Monkey because he's really skinny, thin, and all hair cover on his body. So that's it.
Okay. So, uh, are you still friends with this? Because you sort of referred to your friend in the past tense. You there, Franco? Are you still friends with this friend you call Monkey? Ah, there you go. You went back. Cool. Nice. Well, it's good to see you again, Franco. Franco was in a class, philosophy of law class, I believe, that I was with Franco last semester. So very cool. Nice to see you again, Franco, or talk to you again. Up next, we got another student who I know, but again won't spoil. This is a student whose last name is White. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hello.
Hey, we can hear you.
Okay, cool. So my name is Shantae. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And interesting fact about somebody I know. My friend actually is like she has an obsession, like an unhealthy obsession with Twilight, and she went to Washington Forks where they filmed the movie. So that was kind of cool.
Where is that? Is that like in the state of Washington?
Yeah, it's like a small little town, and that's where they filmed like the whole movie. So it was cool, and they had like a whole bunch of like different things that like they had like signs that said like, "Oh, Twilight, we love Edward and Bella," and stuff like that. So it was kind of cool, like to see like the different houses and everything that were there that they filmed at.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Are you? It sounds like you're not as into Twilight as your friend. Did you like Twilight though?
Oh, so like she put me on like I always like I watched all the Twilight movies when I was like younger, but like she has like an obsession, like it's bad. So like she put me on to like reading all the books and everything. So like I just
Right.
finished Midnight Sun, which is like the new one that just came out. So it was really good. So I just like ordered like all the books. So I'm gonna read them. So we'll see how that goes.
Nice. Very cool. So the obsession is contagious. You're sort of catching that obsession too.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, cool. Good to hear from you again, Shantae. Shantae also was in that same philosophy of law class that Franco was in. Also, I believe I was Shantae's academic advisor at some point. So awesome. All right, up next we got a student whose last name is Ciancio. Sorry, I can do this. Ciancio, or my probable mispronunciation of it.
Yeah, it's pronounced Beyonce. Uh, you're
Oh,
pretty close. So, my name is Corey. My pronouns are he, him, and his. And an interesting fact about someone I know is a friend of mine. He goes to school in um, one of the Carolinas, and he only has one class a week that is in person. So he actually is flying once a week down there.
what? You literally like will go down for a Thursday, fly back up here to Jersey, and then spend 6 days up here, and then go back down and back up.
Yeah, well, his father
Wow.
works something with airlines, so I
Oh
think he
yeah.
gets like discounts or something. But yeah, he has to fly
Right.
down there once a week.
Right. Yeah. If you work in the airlines, you can get those like standby things. And I believe at this time of year, or sorry, this year in general, flights are pretty available. So um, that's unbelievable. Um, wow. And I know the University of South Carolina has had one of the bigger outbreaks, COVID outbreaks in the start of the semester. They've shut down. So I hope it's not that college. Yeah, everybody's going off on that in the chat. I don't know if you see that. Oh, and you're also responding in there. So yeah. Oof. Uh, yeah. All right. So thanks for letting us know a little bit about yourself, Corey. Appreciate it. Up next, we're going to go to a student whose last name is Folks. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So my name is Courtney. My pronoun is she, hers, and hers. An interesting fact, I'll say about my best friend, she likes to go running at like 4 in the morning, which I think is insane. And like she tried to make me go with her, but I just can't wake up that early.
She's just like a total morning person like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. My wife is that way too. She'll wake up. Like 5 o'clock is almost late for her to wake up. And I just don't understand. My biorhythm doesn't work that way. So, yeah, I don't blame you. Very, very cool. Nice to meet you, Courtney.
Nice to meet you too.
Up next, we got a student whose last name is Leong. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? All right, post it in the chat if you want to take a look. My name is David. And an interesting fact about my friend that he plays for the Somerset Patriots this past season. I don't know the Somerset Patriots. I don't even know what particular league that is. Oh, that's a baseball team. I just looked it up. A minor league baseball team. Nice. And Corey says, Ayo, I'm right down the road. Nice. So that's cool. What is your friend a pitcher? Is your friend an infielder, an outfielder, a catcher? Shortstop. Nice. Very cool. What level of minor league is that? I gotta have to claim. I'm gonna have to apologize. I don't know my North Jersey minor league teams as well as I know my South Jersey minor league teams. Because I grew up in South Jersey. Very cool. Awesome. Very nice to meet you, David. I appreciate you telling us a little bit about yourself. All right. Up next, we have a student I know whose last name is Hessing. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Oh, Somerset, Central Jersey? See, I don't even know that. That's how far south I grew up. It's all North Jersey from where I'm from. Anyway, student whose last name is Hessing. Tell us a little bit about yourself. All right, posted in the chat. My Deshaun. My pronouns are he, him, his. An interesting fact is that my sister's boyfriend used to play for the Jets. Nice. Do you want to out who this person is, or do you want to keep their identity a secret? And follow-up question, are you a Jets fan yourself, Deshaun? He's not on the Jets anymore. He's on the Packers now, and you're a Dolphins fan. Nice. Go Miami. I'm an Eagles fan myself. Got that South Jersey. Grew up right outside of Philadelphia. Thing going. Very cool. Nice to see you again, Deshaun. Or not see you. Nice to talk with you again, Deshaun. I keep using the language of being in the same room as people when I'm not. Deshaun was in an Intro to Philosophy class a year ago. We had that class together, so very nice to see you again, Deshaun. All right, up next, we got a student whose last name is Rolo, or Royo, I'm not sure. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, hi, my name is Emma. I use she, her pronouns. And an interesting fact about someone I know, my dad is really into like stuff with space, like astronomy and stuff. Excuse me. And one time he and my mom were touring NASA, and he actually ended up leading the tour. Like he kind of took it away from the tour
He
guide.
took over?
Yeah, and ended up
Or, like,
teaching
he
everybody.
knew more?
Yeah, that was like before I was born, but I think that's pretty cool.
That's amazing. That's too funny.
Yeah.
Have you like visited NASA as a result of your dad being so into this stuff?
No, I never really got into that stuff. My little sister did. So hopefully my parents or maybe me, I'll be able to take her one day. But yeah, I've never been. I never really got into it.
All right. Yeah. Cool. Well, very nice to meet you, Emma. That's a good story about your dad.
Thank you.
Up next, we got a student whose last name is Merger. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So my name's Evan. I go by he, him, and his. And something interesting I know about someone is the one guy that I work with. His cousin is Steve Harvey.
Oh, nice. So have you gotten a chance to meet Steve Harvey?
No, you just like, because his last name is Harvey too. So I asked him, like, are you related to Steve Harvey? So yeah, it's actually my cousin. So I thought it was pretty funny.
Is he lying to you?
I don't think so. Like, he looks like him. Like, they look the same.
Okay. So have the same mustache? It's a classic Steve Harvey
Not the same
mustache.
but like everything else, like they share the same features everywhere else. So I'll have to
Okay.
ask him for a picture with him.
Yeah. For anyone who doesn't know, Steve Harvey, right now, I guess, is most famous for hosting the Family Feud. But he's a stand-up comic in his own right, long before that. And I will waste a good, like, more time than I should just watching those compilations of him reacting over the top to bad Family Feud guesses. So, and he also, as Corey points out, has a legendary mustache. We refer to it as the Steve Harvey mustache. So, yeah, nice, very cool. Nice to meet you, Evan.
You too. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Up next, we have a student whose last name is Torres. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name is Facundo Torres. Pronouns I follow are he, him, and hers. I mean he and him. And an interesting fact about my research professor is, although he's a microbiologist, before he used to actually be a pilot at a certain point, personally, not like in actual airline. So he used to fly like private plane around.
Nice. Does he still fly at all anymore, or is that?
No, he would need to renew his license to constantly. It's kind of like any other license.
Right. Yeah, you got to keep renewing it. So that's so cool. Nice. I've never done anything close to flight lessons or anything like that, but it sounds like a really cool thing. Nice. Very nice to meet you, Facundo. Up next, we got a student whose last name is Mohiddin. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hey, I'm Hashir Mohiddin. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm a computer science and political science major-ish. And fun fact would be...
Wait, what does it mean to be a major-ish? You're not officially a major yet?
Well, I'm a computer science major, but for political science, I think I'm just going to do a minor.
Oh, I see.
And fun fact is that Jimmy Carter is 95 years old. He was a former president of the United States, and he's still building houses for Habitat for Humanity.
I like this. I'm guessing this is not somebody you know personally. You don't know Jimmy Carter?
No, I don't.
Right.
But I don't know.
You did right. No, that's totally fine. I didn't specify it had to be someone you know personally. It could totally be someone you know of. So you're the first person to choose this. I like this. Where you just take a famous person and give us some fun facts about him. I like that. That was good. Really cool. Nice to meet you, Hishio.
Thank you.
All right. Up next, we have a student whose last name is Torres. I just realized there are two Torreses. This is the one whose first initial is H.
Hi, my name is Helen.
Um, I use the pronouns she, her, and hers. A fact about somebody I know. Okay, so I have a very like interesting little sister, and she's been wanting to get like her hair cut for a while, but my mom hasn't allowed her to. So yesterday, while I was at the gym, she decided it was a good idea to give herself bangs. So I came home to my sister with bangs, and my mom has yet to notice. So I'm just waiting to
What?
see how that goes down.
Like, how severe are the bangs? Are they
No, they're like
super
not bad. And
short?
no. She didn't go like straight across. She did like kind of like face
Okay.
framing bangs, but like
Okay.
they're not that bad. They're just really uneven. And like I want to like fix them for her, but like she let me cut her hair for her like a couple months ago, and like it was like a literally like so many layers that were like all different lengths. And my mom yelled at me for that. So I don't even want to try to help her.
Well,
Like,
listen, we're all struggling with like I've got what I think of as a Zoom haircut because my wife is able to like do the sides here, but I haven't cut the top in years. So if you look at the back of my head, it's just sort of a nightmare of extra hair. So I look fine in the front, but not in the back. So we're all trying to just get by here.
yeah, I guess.
Nice. Cool. Really nice to meet you, Helen. Thanks for telling us
Nice
about
to
that.
meet you too.
All right, up next we got a student whose last name is Oriana. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, my name is Iris. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. An interesting fact about my aunt is she has 4 dogs and she lives downstairs from our apartment, so it's fun to have them come up and play with them. And currently she has a bird and I believe is a parrot.
A bird, 4 dogs. Any other pets? Or because we're talking like lots of pets already.
More to come, I believe.
Oh, right. Okay. And living in the same building, that's nice. So you get to see them, even bringing the dogs up. Do you have
Oh
any pets
yeah.
yourself?
I have a dog. She's a poodle.
Nice.
Yeah.
And your dog gets along with the 4 dogs of your aunts?
Oh yes, definitely.
Cool. Very nice. Well,
Thank
very
you.
nice to meet you, Iris.
Nice to meet you too.
Cool. Up next, we have a student whose last name is Desano. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, I'm Isabel. I go by she, her, and hers. And an interesting fact is that my roommate was adopted from China.
Oh, very cool. How did you meet your roommate?
We're both on the swim team, so we were put together by our coach.
So this is at Kane. You're in the Kane dorms?
Yeah, I am.
Very cool. And on the swim team, that's very cool. What is your stroke or specialty?
I swim breaststroke.
Very cool. Nice. And your roommate? What's your roommate's stroke of choice?
She's a butterflyer.
Oh, nice. Very cool. Awesome. Very nice to meet you, Isabel. Up next, we have a student whose last name is Zapatowski. Tell us a little bit about yourself. All right. In the chat, I'm going to pull it up. Hi, my name is Isabel. I'm studying sociology. She, her, hers pronoun. And an interesting fact about someone I know is that my dad is partially deaf in one ear. I have spoken, but I just woke up. Well, yeah, I appreciate that. There is something about these morning classes where I'll just play Beyonce or Taylor Swift to wake myself up, but some of you might be waking up to the class itself. So in talking with your dad, is it noticeable if you're on one side versus the other in terms of his ability to hear what you're saying? I constantly forget that he's deaf in one ear. Yeah, so then, you're going to have to, you constantly have to get reminded. Yeah, cool. Well, nice to talk to you again, Isabel. Isabel was in an intro to philosophy class together last semester. We had one, so awesome. Up next, we got a student whose last name is Bowers. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Can you guys hear me?
See that you, yeah, now I can hear you.
Okay, cool. My name is Lamar. And an interesting fact about somebody that I know, um, a very good friend of mine is actually running for council in his town. Um, and I find that pretty interesting because he's almost the same age as me, so he's pretty young. And I mean his chances are pretty good, but I would like to see like just the obstacles of him, actually getting into politics and not having a what you would call a political background.
Oh, so he doesn't have any like strong political background, but he's already running. That's so cool. Are you able to vote in the election he's in?
I am not. At least I don't think so. I haven't been a resident in the town for a while, so I don't think so. But um, even though he doesn't have like that political background, he actually has a great standing in the community. So it'll be very interesting to see just the results over.
Nice. Well, you've got one more race, election race to be looking forward to. I'm guessing this is also a November election coming up this fall. So very cool. Well, nice to meet you, Lamar. All right. Up next, we have a student whose last name is DeMeo. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Leah. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. And an interesting fact about someone is my boyfriend is actually in the Air Force and he's a mechanic, so he works on all the like trucks and like fix them up. So that's pretty cool.
Nice. Do you do any mechanic stuff yourself?
No, I have no clue about anything like that.
I'm in the exact same boat, so I wish I knew somebody I was close with who knew car stuff, who could fix things when my car always go bust.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Nice. Awesome. Very nice to meet you, Leah.
Same here.
All right. Up next, we have a student whose last name is Audige. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, you can my name. The school made a mistake. My name is.
Sorry, you cut off.
Oh,
Could
okay.
you
So
repeat the
I was
first thing you
saying,
said?
I was saying that the Mister in front of my name is a mistake. Like the school made an error.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
My name is Maradine, but sometimes it's hard for people to pronounce, so you can call me Monique, like if it's easier for you. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. And an interesting fact I know about someone is that my dad, he speaks 4 languages, English, Spanish, French, and Creole.
That's really cool. Did he pick up all of these like immersively, like he learned them as a kid because people were speaking around him, or did he like pick up some of them like just learning them in school or on his own somewhere?
Well, I know the French and Creole, those are his like first languages, so he like grew up with that language, and then Spanish and English he learned like around like yeah.
As he was older.
Huh? What was
Very
that?
cool. Nice. I said he learned them like as he was older.
Yeah, he's like 78, so he had a lot of time.
Awesome. Cool. Well, that's awesome. Very nice to meet you, Mauradine/Monique. Very cool.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Up next, we got a student whose last name is Winfrey. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, my name is Najwa. My pronouns I go by she, her, hers.
And an interesting fact about one of my friends is that she's a leukemia cancer survivor. So yeah, she was very energetic and happy little girl. So now she's still alive and she's a survivor right now.
That's great. Did you know her through the diagnosis and entire process?
Excuse me?
Did you know her like before she was diagnosed and as she was diagnosed with cancer?
Oh, like I knew her after. Like after like I knew like when she was like when I first met her, she told me like she was a leukemia cancer survivor. She had stage 3. So I was like, oh. But she's very
Wow,
healthy now, which is good.
that's great. Congratulations for your friend and for yourself. Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Very nice to meet you. We'll go now to a student whose last name is Win. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello.
Yeah.
So my name is Me. I go by she, her, hers. And an interesting fact about someone I know is my best friend. She's a Japanese teacher and she has been self-studying Korean for about 2 months and she can speak and understand Korean pretty well now.
Nice. She's just been teaching herself, you said?
Yeah. She's studying online.
That's awesome. Yeah. I've never tried to learn a language on my own. It sounds daunting, so I'm impressed.
Okay.
Nice. Very awesome. Very nice to meet you, Nate.
Thank you.
Up next, we have a student whose last name is Velez. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, my name is Olivia. I go by she, her, and hers. And an interesting fact about someone I know is that my uncle, he travels the world performing. He's a singer.
Very cool. What type of songs does he sing?
Well, he's a Latin singer, so he started off with Christian music. Now he's trying to be a little more like broad, like be more of a variety to different genres.
And have you gotten to see him sing?
Yeah,
Nice. He's got a good voice. You like it?
yeah, he's pretty cool.
Nice. That's awesome. Very cool. All right. Very nice to meet you, Olivia. Appreciate it.
Nice to meet you too.
All right. It looks like 3 more students to go. Up next, we have a student whose last name is Altenberg. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, my name's Sam. I go by she, her, and hers. And an interesting fact about someone I know is that my big A was supposed to go to the NBA, but he had to go to war instead.
Who was this who had to go to war?
My big A, he's my grandpa.
Okay. So, like, was he like signed by a particular team?
I can't actually remember. All I know is he was supposed to go, and then he ended up in Korea.
I see. Interesting. Very cool. Well, it's nice to meet you, or not meet you, because Sam's in 2 of my classes this semester, so I already met her 2 days ago. So good to see you again, Sam.
You too.
All right, up next, we got a student whose last name is Spencer. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, my name is Shanae. I go by she, her, and hers. An interesting fact about someone I know. One of my friends just graduated college, and she also passed her board exam for nursing, so she's doing pretty good.
Congratulations. That's awesome. Did you do anything as like a celebration for passing that?
Unfortunately, no, only because the pandemic is still happening, and she doesn't want to get sick before she goes into her actual career.
Of course. Yeah, that's probably something she learned well in order to pass that board. So very cool. Yeah. Good to talk to you again, Shanae. Shanae was we were in an intro to philosophy class together 2 semesters ago in the fall. So
Yes.
all right, nice. Up next, we got final student whose last name is Esteban. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi everybody, my name is William Esteban. I identify myself with he, him, his, and an interesting fact about my big brother is that he likes to play sports, like he like every sports like baseball, basketball, football, golf.
Do you play any of those sports alongside him?
Yeah, like we grew up in the same household, and I can play baseball and basketball. Is that?
Nice. Yeah, I play some sports very poorly, but I love to play them. So I love to hear that. Cool. Nice to meet you.
Nice. Nice to meet you.
All right, so that's everybody. We got to know each other a little bit. Hopefully, we can continue to try to talk throughout this. You can always communicate via the chat or the talk during any of these live sessions. And we have sort of a decent sized enough class where I'm okay. Like the default might be to hit that raise hand button if you want to say something. And you can definitely do that if you ever want to say something. But there are a few enough of us in here where if you just want to unmute yourself and start talking, you can totally do that. So Shanae's asked in the chat, when is the discussion question? When's that due? That's exactly what we're going to be talking about next. So I appreciate you asking that. If I can skip ahead a little bit just to give you a preview, but we will be talking about it in much greater detail. Your discussion posts for this week, you have an initial post and 2 replies. Your initial post in the discussion board is due Saturday, by the end of the day Saturday, and your 2 replies are going to be due next Wednesday. So that's just the due date, but we'll talk a lot more probably, I want to say in like 10 minutes or so. Right now, though, I want to just give a quick run through of the course schedule in general. So this is a class that's completely remote. So some of your classes that are labeled as face-to-face or hybrid, you might have to do that weird transition in 3 weeks. We're not doing that. So the first 3 weeks, all classes are remote. And then starting the week of September 21st, some classes go to hybrid, some classes go to face-to-face. Ours stays remote. We will still be doing these live sessions on Fridays at 9:30. We're still going to be doing stuff like this where you don't have to go to campus at all. And then the last 3 weeks of the semester, everybody goes back to remote. We're just going to stay remote. There's no change for us. So we're going to be remote the entire time. No change at all. So just giving you that heads up. Now I want to do a little switch over to Blackboard to talk a little bit about what's going on there. So let's see. I'm just going to do a little tour of our course page. First place we might want to go to is the course information. So you can take a look here where the syllabus is. We'll talk about the syllabus in a second, but I'll open it up. There it is. Ta-da. Then another good place to see stuff is under course content over here. Click on course content. You see all the different units for this course. We got 15 units. Each unit is 1 week. It's a 15-week semester. Totally makes sense. Let's take a look at the first unit. Click on Unit 1, why logic is so important. And you see a little bit of a description of this unit. You see here's where all the information related to the live session is. Not only do I post the slides here. So we're using the intro to class slides right now. The next part of class, we'll be using this next set of slides called Logic is Awesome. So you can always just take a look at those slides on your own after the live session, whenever you want. But not only do we post that there, also the recording for class is going to be posted here as well. Once the live session ends, I'll post the recording of this live session somewhere in here. All right, next below that are the required readings for this course. Every unit's going to have at least 1 reading. Some units, if I can scroll to a different unit, are going to have optional readings as well. There are no optional readings for this one, but if we go, say, to next week, there's an optional reading right here. Those optional readings are under what are called resources. So if it's under the readings headline, it's required reading. If it's under resources, it's optional. And the resources are sometimes not even readings. Sometimes they're like YouTube videos or podcasts or stuff like that. So going back to Unit 1, then below the readings and those resources are the graded things. There's always going to be some sort of discussion board. And this week's discussion question is going to be based off something we're going to be doing in the second part of class today. Spoiler alert, I'm going to claim that this is the most important class you will ever take. It's a very bold claim. I'm going to ask you to tell me why I'm wrong, why you don't believe it, or why you're skeptical of my claim. Well, that's going to basically take up the second part of our live session today. But the discussion board is going to be a chance for you to continue to discuss what we start discussing in class today. So that's the only graded assignment for today. If you had more graded assignments, you could keep scrolling down, and there will be more graded assignments below. Every unit just is its own like isolated thing. It just tells you everything you got to do for class that week inside that one particular unit. All right, so that's just a little bit of a look into Blackboard about that. Now let's go back and take a look at the syllabus. I'm going to click on the syllabus again right here. So let's just talk very briefly about some of the key things here. So I think the best thing to know about this first page is my email's the best way to get in touch with me. I'm going to be on campus this semester a few times, but not that often. So don't worry about my office location. Anytime you want to meet with me, we can meet virtually. We can do like some sort of video chat or a phone call or whatever. We don't have to meet in person for this class. And the best way to like try to meet with me is to just send me an email, and then we can figure out when's good for us to meet. So that's just an important little caveat here. Shantae's asked in the chat for the discussion board, do we have to post 6 times over the course of 3 days? A lot of my other classes are doing that. For our class, you have to post a total of 3 times over the course of 3 days. So you have to post one initial response, and then 2 replies for a total of 3 times. So I got a slightly lower bar than these other classes. Cool. A little bit about these office hours right here. These are the times during my week that I set aside to hang with students, that I make sure I'm totally available to meet with students. There are other times I can meet with students and I'm free, but these are the consistent times where I just want to be meeting with students. So because this is sort of like an online office hour situation, if you want to meet with me during these times, I'm going to be checking my email constantly during those particular office hours. You send me an email and say, hey, I want to meet right now. I will respond right away and say, awesome, here, let's meet, let's do a phone call, or let's do a Google Meet, or let's do a Zoom, or whatever, whatever's convenient for you. If you want to meet outside of those office hours, I'll still be free. You'll just have to send me an email, and we'll have to figure out the time that works for us. So anyway, that's some logistics about how to meet with me outside of class. Cool. There's a little description of the course. We're going to talk about that in the next part of class, so I'll hold off on that. Some course objectives, yada, yada, yada. We'll just skip through this. Let's go to textbook and materials. So there is no textbook for this class. You do not have to buy anything for this class. All the stuff you got to read for this class is available for free as links on Blackboard in every different unit, or some sort of PDF or something. So no need to buy anything. You're good when it comes to books. And then the next part of the syllabus just sort of lists all the topics for this class. Talk a little bit more about this as we go through the course, But a lot of this is about like learning some basic like values of critical thinking in terms of like intellectual honesty, and then a ton about arguments and a bunch of different type of deductive arguments, learning about inductive arguments, causal arguments, arguments by analogy, arguments from authority, abductive arguments. We're learning a ton about different types of arguments. And then there's a whole next part of the course that's on cognitive biases. This turns a little bit into like a psychology class. We think about the human mind and some of the things that prevent us from critically thinking. So we do that for a few weeks. And then the last part of the class, we start talking about fallacies. Fallacies are another big part of critical thinking. So that's the general sort of rough structure of our course. I'll skip over some of this stuff for now. All right, next page of the syllabus talks about all the assignments for this class. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom because I list all of the assignments right here. So here's all of the particular assignments. Barbara asked about where do I answer the discussion questions. My other professors don't do that. Cool. So if we want to just take a look, I'm going to go back to the regular course page. You can go to course content. There are two places to go to get to the discussion boards. Under Unit 1, you can click on Unit 1 and scroll down to the discussion question. And then if you click on the heading right here, Unit 1 DQ, how much do you believe, Sean? You click on that, you'll be brought to the discussion board particular for that discussion question. So then you have to click on this again, Unit 1 DQ, how much do you believe, Sean? And then you're right there. Here is what you have to answer. Think of this as the discussion prompt. To actually submit your initial post, you would click on reply down here. A little window would open up like this. And then you write your initial post here. And at the bottom right, you would click submit. I'm not going to click submit to this, but that's where you would do. When you click submit, it will pop up at the very bottom below this initial post. So that's how you wind up submitting things. All right, so back to the syllabus. Here are all the different assignments for this class. So this class has a total of 3 different tests, and the tests happen basically every 5 weeks. Sometime around week 4 or 5 is test 1. Sometime around week 10 is test 2. And sometime at the very end of the semester after week 15 is test number 3. It'll happen during finals week. Every week for this class, there are discussion boards, and it's just gonna be this sort of rhythm. Saturday, your initial post is due. Wednesday, your 2 replies are due. Next unit, Saturday, your initial post is due. Wednesday, your replies are due. That's how that works. Every week that you're not taking a test, there's either what's called a participation activity or a homework assignment. These typically, at least as participation activities, are sort of like low anxiety chances to just practice some of the critical thinking skills we're learning on any given week. Participation activities in particular are graded on a you completed it or you didn't complete it basis. Participation activities are just you put in the effort and you tried, and it doesn't matter if you got some of the answers wrong. As long as you put forth the effort and completed the participation activity, you get full credit, complete credit, all 25 points. Homework assignments are graded a little bit differently. You are still guaranteed to get an A on a homework assignment if you've put in all the effort and fully completed it, but you could get, if you've fully completed it, an A minus, partly based off of quality, or an A plus based off of quality. Participation credit activities, you'll get a perfect grade just for doing it no matter what. Homework assignments are just like a step between participation activities and tests where I'm grading a little bit based off of quality. We'll talk more about each one of these participation activities and homework assignments as we get to them in particular units. Our first unit doesn't have a participation activity or a homework assignment, They start in Unit 2. You can take a look at them already. They're all posted in every unit already. The end of the semester, there is a paper. You can see the paper guideline already if you want, but we'll be talking about it a little bit more when we reach a unit where the paper becomes relevant. The paper itself is due at the very end of the semester, but there's one particular unit, I think it's Unit 4 or 5 of this class, where the paper sort of like is relevant to what we're talking about that unit. So I'm going to be bringing up the paper at that point for us to discuss. And same thing about the group project. These group projects you're going to be doing are based on fallacies, and the fallacy unit is somewhere around Unit 13 of the semester. But starting next week, I'm going to be talking about this group project in a lot greater detail. We'll be discussing the group project in Unit 2. We'll be getting you into groups during Unit 2 so that from Unit 2 through Unit 13, you can start to work on these group projects in those groups. So I won't say too much about the paper or the group project right now, mainly because I've devoted some future live session time in upcoming units to talking about both of those assignments. But that's it. That's everything. All of this adds up to 1,000 points total. So this grade system is based on a 1,000 point scale. You're probably familiar with a 100 point scale for A's and B's and C's. Like an A is a 90 and above, a B is anything in the 80s, a C is anything in the 70s. Well, this just works the same way, except it's on a 1,000 point scale. So an A is anything 900 points or above. A B is anything from 800 to 899 points, etc. So, and if you want to find out more information about each one of these assignments beyond what I just sort of very quickly summarized, you can take a look at this particular page above what we were just looking at. There's the 3 tests. Here's everything about participation activities, etc. One thing I didn't mention is that I'm a big fan of giving extra credit. So I'm going to give you a good amount of extra credit opportunity the semester as well. I'll just post an assignment that says, this is just an extra credit assignment. You can do it if you want. It'll add some points to your final grade. You don't have to do it if you don't want. Whatever is up to you. So, cool. Any questions, thoughts, or concerns at any point during this, just like Shantae did, just like Shanae did, just like Barbara did, feel free to post in the chat, or feel free to just unmute yourself and ask that question at any time during this. So Barbara asked, will we get a review for the exam? Absolutely. Usually there's going to be some live session time devoted to reviewing for the exam. I also give a little review sheet that lists the logistics about each exam and briefly just lists out all the topics that are going to be covered on each exam. So yeah, we'll definitely be reviewing. All right, continuing to scroll down. Here's some policies. I talked a little bit about office hours already. Another way to guarantee you get to meet with me, whether it's in office hours or outside of office hours, is to go to this website that I just highlighted here, keeganofficehours.youcanbook.me. So if you go there, you click on it, you can see all of the times that I'm free. So for instance, you could book a meeting with me later today if you wanted, starting around 3:20. Or skipping the Labor Day weekend, you could book a meeting with me Tuesday morning, or limited spots Tuesday afternoon, or a lot of free time on Wednesday. If you wanted to book a meeting with me sometime on Wednesday. All of these are the free times. When you do that, let's say you want to meet with me at like 10 o'clock on Tuesday, you go to this particular page, you fill out like 3 things, and then you confirm the booking. I will get an email that blocks off that part of my schedule that I know that you want to meet with me. So that's a good thing to know. That's a nice website for that. All right, so that's the main thing I wanted to do from that page. This page, I'm not going to go over in much detail, but I highly encourage you. Of all the pages of the syllabus that I want you to read, it's page 7, right? That's what this page is. Yep, just checking to make sure. This just lays out my case for you to give a damn about this class. In about 5 minutes, I'm going to put forward a super bold claim, the claim that this is the most important class you'll ever take. I might very well legitimately believe that claim. I'm not going to let you know one way or the other yet. I might, in fact, believe that this is a super important class. I think that you can learn some of the most fundamentally important skills, not just like nerdy academic skills. I'm talking about life skills in a class like this. If you put in the effort, I think you can learn a tremendous amount in this class. I can brag a little bit here and say, I think that I've designed this class so that if you put in the effort, you'll be practicing and putting forth so much growth that you will cultivate tremendously important skills. But all of that hinges on that if you put in the effort. And I want you to put in the effort. This is a somewhat rare opportunity for you to be with a group of people, all of the students around you in this live session right now, who are bright and motivated and putting forth the effort to learn about these awesome, cool topics. This is a rare opportunity for you to get involved as well and take advantage of that. So I want you to take advantage of that. Do what the others in this class are doing. Read what I ask you to read. Participate in these live sessions when you attend them. Put forward the practice in the participation activities, in any sort of extra credit assignments, in any sort of assignment that's not even graded. Just put forth that sort of effort. I essentially want you to give a damn about this learning opportunity and just give a damn about learning in general. All right, so I'll step down off my soapbox, but that's something that I wanted to make sure to remind yourself of. All right, last page of the syllabus talks about Kane's general university-wide policies. So the main thing I wanted to mention in this has to do with learning accommodations. Let me know if you have requests for some sort of support. Some of you might have some sort of document that you got from an official office at Kane. If you want, if you have something like that, you can definitely email me and we can maybe set up a conversation to just talk about that particular document. If you don't have some official documentation, but you do have a request for some sort of learning accommodation or support, meet with me. We can talk through it. We can try to figure out together what makes sense. And good ways to meet with me are, as we already talked, you can try to meet with me during my office hours. You can try to schedule an appointment at keeganofficehours.youcanbook.me. You can just send me an email and we can figure out a time to meet. If you want to wait, well, after a live session ends, I usually stick around for the next 5 minutes or so during the live session as students start to leave the live session. If you want to just wait for them to have the conversation, we can do that. Whatever works for you. So just want to definitely point out and encourage that. All right, so that's everything related to the syllabus that I wanted to talk about. And so the last bit, we've already been mentioning this already somewhat, but the last bit I wanted to talk about is, sorry, I'm just trying to switch back over. The last bit that I wanted to talk about is what's due this week. So I already previewed it. We've heard students talk about this. This suggests in my mind that I should definitely just rearrange things so that I talk about this first rather than last, but whatever. What's actually due and graded for this week? This week, you only have one assignment. It is posting in the discussion board. It's 3 posts that you have to do total, and your first post is going to be due Saturday by 11:59 p.m., basically the end of the day on Saturday. And then you've got 2 replies that are due by 11:59 p.m. on Wednesday. That is it. This week, I tried to keep it somewhat light. All weeks have a discussion board like this. Most other weeks have something else as an assignment beyond that. But for this week, all we're doing is this discussion board. All right, so Monique asks in the chat, Can you post an initial response and the 2 replies on the same day, or does it have to be over 3 days? Sorry, this is my first semester using discussion boards, and I'm a little confused about them. No need to apologize. These are really good questions, and I'm glad you're asking them. So let me go back to our Blackboard page to take a look at what's going on here in the Unit 1 discussion board. So Monique asks a couple questions here. We've already mentioned that you've got these 2 different due dates, the Saturday due date and the Wednesday due date, but Monique asked a really good, important question that's a wrinkle that some of you might not know. The way that you're graded for this is based off of frequency, quality, and timeliness. Timeliness is just what we mentioned. You've got these due dates. If you hit both of these due dates for all 3 of your posts, you will get full credit for the timeliness portion of your discussion question grade. So awesome. Quality we'll talk about in a second. Frequency is what Monique's talking about. So with frequency, we're talking in part about the number of posts. And I mentioned you have to write 3 posts, an initial post and 2 replies. So there is frequency and number go hand in hand. But there's also this thing about regularity that Maradine just mentioned. And with regularity, that means, if we scroll down here, we are expected to post on 3 separate days throughout the week that our unit is open. So if you post your initial response, say today, and you post 2 replies also today, you will only be credited for posting 1 day this week, and you will be penalized on the frequency portion of your grade. If you just post your initial post tomorrow on Saturday and your 2 replies on Wednesday, you'll get credit for timeliness. You've hit the deadlines, but you'll only get credit for posting on 2 separate days. So you'll get docked a little bit on your frequency grades. To get full credit for your discussion questions, here's the sort of thing I recommend doing. Maybe post your initial response today. Maybe take the weekend off. Because it's Labor Day weekend, even take Monday off. But then come back to the discussion board on Tuesday and write 1 of your 2 replies on Tuesday. And then come back to the discussion post again on Wednesday and post your 2nd reply on Wednesday. Then you will have posted on 3 separate days. Your initial post on Friday, your 2nd post on Tuesday, your 3rd post on Wednesday. That would get you full credit for your frequency portion of your discussion post. So that's a really good question, and I'm glad you asked that. Lots of people don't realize that, so I'm glad we highlighted that. The last bit about discussion posts is quality. So there are 2 sort of aspects of quality when it comes to quality posts. Quality for an initial post is mostly about making sure you completely address all the questions in the discussion prompt. So first off, this particular prompt, I think asks you to do roughly 4 things. Come up with a percentage of some sort here, and then explain the reasons why you came up with that percentage. So that's your 2nd thing. And then explain what do you think could happen to increase that percentage. That's the 3rd thing you could do. What do you think could happen to lower that percentage? That's number 4. As long as you fully address all 4 of those things, you will get complete credit quality-wise for that initial post. That will count as a quality initial post. Completely addressing what's asked of you is what counts for a quality initial post. Replies are a little bit different. I'm going to be giving a little bit of a guideline of what counts as a good reply post as a little announcement later on this week. But to give you a little bit of a heads up as to what counts as a good quality reply post, I'm looking for you to move the conversation forward intellectually. And that's sort of a metaphor, so let me tell you a little bit what I have in mind. Imagine you're just like in a a verbal conversation with somebody where you're talking to one another. And somebody's making a particular point, somebody's talking for a minute, like 2 minutes, elaborating on some particular point that they believe. Imagine after all of that, you just say, oh yeah, I totally agree, I think you're right. And that's it. You don't add any more to the conversation. You haven't moved the conversation forward at all. There's nothing you said that the person you just replied to can now like react to, can like say like, oh, well now you've given something for me to think about so I can respond to you. If all you do is restate what that person said or just agree with what they said, you haven't really moved the conversation forward. A couple ways to move the conversation forward is to connect what that person said to something that's personal in your life. Oh yeah, you were talking about this. That reminds me of something that happened to me. Let me talk a little bit about what that thing that happened to me. Maybe you can connect what that person's talking about to something else we're learning in class. So like, oh, what you're talking about here reminds me of what we read for class this week. Let me talk about how it connects to what we learned. Maybe what you can do is ask a question. Maybe you can say, I like what you said at the beginning here. Maybe you could say a little bit more about what you mean with this one particular word. Because I've heard some people use this one phrase a couple different ways. How did you intend that to be? What did you mean when you said that? Follow-up questions of that sort move the conversation forward. You're providing something for people to then reply to yourself. So that's all the stuff related to the discussion question. Other questions, thoughts, or concerns about this DQ? All right, Facundo asks, let me scroll down to find it. So do the 2 replies need to be separate individuals, or can they be 2 replies on the same thread? Conversation with one individual, but the conversation is moving forward. So I'm fine with you having 2 replies to the same within the same thread. I encourage you to try to like diversify your conversations. And remember, 2 replies is a minimum, so you can reply to more if you want to. But it's nice if you don't make a habit of like only replying to the same person unit after unit after unit. But you're not going to get docked any points if you do that. You will still count if the 2 replies are to the same thread, are inside that same thread. Other questions, thoughts, or concerns about the discussion board and how it's graded right now? You're welcome. Awesome. So let's talk a little bit now about what a typical unit looks like, because this unit is a little bit lighter. So typically a unit is going to have more stuff. We're still going to have a discussion board in every single unit for this class, and our deadlines are always going to be Saturday deadline and Wednesday deadline. Saturday deadline and Wednesday deadline. But typically we're also going to have a participation activity, and that's going to be due on Wednesday. You can think of this class as having units that start on a Thursday and end on a Wednesday. And most stuff is going to be due at the end of the unit. Most stuff is going to be due on Wednesday. Sometimes other units are going to have other stuff that's due, like maybe a paper is due, or maybe a homework assignment is due. Or in weeks when we have a test is going to be due on Wednesday. Homeworks, papers, tests, participation activities, all graded stuff is basically due the end of the unit on Wednesday. The only thing that isn't, that's a little bit different, is this initial post. For discussions, you have like a midway through the week deadline, initial post, and then everything else is due Wednesday. That includes your replies to the discussion and everything else. So that's how I think of this class. All the units begin on a Thursday, they end on a Wednesday. Pretty much everything is due on Wednesday, except for your initial post, which is due at roughly the midway point of the week on Saturday. Any questions, thoughts, concerns about literally anything related to this class?
So just to clarify, So the initial post, even if it's due on Saturday, like if I do it on a Friday, it still counts like as over a course of 2 days as long as I do the 2 replies over 2 days.
So it's got to be total over 3 days. But yes, if you have your initial post on a Friday, that would count because as long as it's before Saturday.
Okay. Thanks.
Other questions, thoughts, or concerns? Just leaving a nice little pause while we think through this. Barbara asks, our first discussion question is due tomorrow. Yep, it's due by the end of the day on Saturday. And it turns out the next part of our live session, we're going to be talking exclusively about the topic that you have to write about for your discussion question. So hopefully you'll get a lot more sense. All right, so I've got another poll that I want to ask you, and I'll just sort of set it up right now. If we go back to the very first slide on this slideshow, we have gone through all of this stuff right now. A live session that we have is going to be maybe a little bit longer than one of your other live sessions that you have, because we're a class that if we were doing a face-to-face class, we'd be meeting for, 2 hours and 45 minutes once a week. Our scheduled time is 9:30 to 12:15. We're definitely not going to meet all the way to 12:15 today, just to give you that heads up regardless. We're going to end our live sessions earlier than that no matter what. But in a traditional meeting face-to-face class, what I would do is take this first half of class, take a little bit of a short break, maybe like a 5-minute break, and then come back and do our second section of class after that 5-minute break. So I want to know if you want to do a break right now, because we could do a break during this live session if you wanted, or if you want to just power through and just go right into the second part of this live session, which again is not going to be as long as the first part. All we've got to do is one more thing. We've got Shanae already writing in the chat what her preference is, but I got to put an official poll up for us. What do you think? Do you want to go with a break, or do you want to go with no break and just power through? All right. The votes are coming in. All right. Seven of you have not responded yet, but for those of you who did, we've got 5 people voting for yes, let's take a break, and 17 voting for no break, let's power through. It's now up to 19 for no break, power through, and 5 for yes, let's take a break. All right, so we're going to go with democracy on this one. We will not take a break. Of course, for anybody here who does want to take a break, you still sort of can do that if you want, because you can just temporarily leave the live session and then come back and watch the recording of the part of the live session you missed afterwards, since we're recording these live sessions. So anyway, cool. So here's what we're going to do now. We're going to talk about that thing I've been teasing this whole time. My claim that logic is awesome. And partly, I just want to get your sense of something I asked you all to read. Yesterday, I sent out an announcement about this cartoon by The Oatmeal titled, "You're Not Going to Believe What I'm About to Tell You." I want to tell you, for those of you who read it, what did you think? So Corey said it was really good. What were your responses? What was your reactions to reading that particular cartoon? I'll pull it up on the cartoon itself up. There we go. It's sort of a super long cartoon. You just sort of keep scrolling through. This is what it looks like. If anybody hasn't read it yet, I highly encourage you to read it. It's a quick read. It's a long scroll, but it's a quick read. What were your thoughts about this? So Corey wrote, at first it was like, oh, this is all right, but then it hit later. So what hit about it for you, Corey? And other people who read it, what hit about it for you?
I think it's pretty agreeable because it did provide sources and it didn't have anything that was like way too far-fetched. Even the thing about George Washington's teeth, like if you know that he has teeth that has gold and lead and donkey and horse teeth, then I don't think it's like too far-fetched to believe that he probably had teeth of other humans.
Yeah, so this is one of the bigger ones, right? There's this story that I feel like I definitely grew up with. I don't know how many of y'all grew up with. I'm from a different generation than you. But the stories that like, oh yeah, George Washington's teeth were so bad, he had these replacement teeth and he had a set of wooden teeth. People, for some reason, I don't know why that was this like popular story that George Washington had wooden teeth. Yeah, and the particularly shocking thing. Oh, so at least some of you have heard that before. Nice. The particularly shocking thing, if I can actually scroll down to it, here it is. There's the wooden teeth part. If we actually scroll down, he had teeth made of gold, lead, hippopotamus ivory, horse, donkey teeth. All of that's, I think, a really interesting fact. It was tons of weird teeth that we probably wouldn't have as teeth today, with contemporary dentistry being a little bit more different than that. And that's a fine fact, but here we go. Here's the fact that's kind of striking. What if I told you that his other set of teeth that he had was made from the teeth of slaves? So there are, by the way, links to sources down here if you want to take a look. That sort of confirms this. I'm clicking on all the sources. New York Times article, Washington Papers website, and fact-checking website that runs through this. So George Washington didn't have wooden teeth. He didn't have teeth from horses, donkeys, cows, and humans. He bought 9 teeth from unidentified quote-unquote Negroes, perhaps enslaved African Americans. So there's a particular fact that's striking about all of this. Isabel wrote that she was surprised by this. Barbara heard about the wooden teeth thing, but Barbara also heard about the slave teeth before too on Twitter. So that's interesting. So maybe that is starting to make the rounds. The main idea behind this particular cartoon is that it probably feels a little bit different to learn the George Washington fact about having teeth from former slaves than it does to learn the fact about teeth made from hippopotamus ivory and donkey teeth and the like. One's like a fun, curious fact. It's like, oh, now I know a little bit more about history. Oh, the more you know. And the other is just more like upsetting, more like, wait, I want to go into the research. I want to find out how that's true, how that could be. Shanae writes, yeah, I don't like this man at all, right? You're now having like this strong negative visceral reaction. There's something a little bit about this that's just sort of like, it's agitating in this sort of way. So anyway, if you have not read this whole thing, I recommend reading this entire comic. It's short and quick, and I think it's great. But I want to make another claim that's I don't think as upsetting as the claim about George Washington owning teeth from former slaves. But I do want to give you a claim that I think most of you will not believe. And my claim is this: logic is awesome, and this is the best class you're ever going to take. This is the most important class. Maybe I'll put it like this: most important, even though, let's see, what if I do it like this? There we go. The most important class you'll ever take. I want to get your thoughts right now, because I'm assuming most of you are like pretty skeptical of this claim. And I'm not going to give you any reasons why I think this. I'm not even going to tell you whether I actually believe this claim or not. But I want you all to give me reasons to be skeptical of this claim right now. I want you to tell me why this claim is probably not true, why you probably don't believe this. So Shanae actually writes, I believe critical thinking is important. So do you think it's the most important? Olivia says, I think critical thinking is a skill we need for everyday life. Okay, so there's some reason to think it's at least somewhat important. So Shanae, you raised your hand. Go ahead and unmute yourself and tell us your thoughts.
Yes, so I also believe with Olivia, like we use this every day. For an example, during the pandemic, we had to use our critical thinking skills. So once everything was shut down, we had to have the mentality of how to solve problems. How are we going to make money? What if we lose money? How are we still going to be able to work? How are we still going to be able to obtain classes? So it's like critical thinking is a problem solving skill that you need every day. Also, not even during the pandemic, also just walking in the street, you come across a problem, you have to think about how can you solve this problem so that you can move forward. That's why I think this is very important to learn about.
Okay, so you're on the bandwagon thinking that it's an important class. I buy this. There's something there. I want to emphasize the word most in this though, just to be extra stickler about this. I'm claiming that this is the most important class you're ever going to take. Not just that this is an important class, but this is the most important. Good. And so Corey actually said this, right? The part where you added it's the most important ever is where the claim becomes unreasonable or questionable. And Shantae's co-signing it. Monique's co-signing it. Corey says, but critical thinking is important, just not the most important ever. And Shantae also follows that up saying, while it's important, there are other skills that are just as important. So good. Let's start prioritizing. What are some other things that are maybe more important or maybe just as important as critical thinking? All right, so Helen's got a hand raised, so I'm going to call on Helen. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yes, so I also think that like communication is a very like important skill, because although critical thinking is important and you can have all these great ideas, if you don't know how to convey your point and get it across to the right people or to anyone at all, then I think that like becomes an issue because you're not able to get the full potential of what you are trying to do or say or whatever the case may be.
Okay, so I really like this. I'm going to switch over to something right now. If I can find it. Here it is. I'm going to start writing down these reasons like I were like writing it on a board here. But my board is a Word document. So our first general reason, it seems like this isn't the most important class, is that other skills are are either as important or more important. And what Helen just said is that communication might be one of those particular skills. Awesome. I really like this. Let's see. Other people wrote English might be an important skill. Shantae wrote social skills. Barbara, when you say it's the backbone of everything, are you saying critical thinking is the backbone, or are you saying something else that another student wrote above is? Let's see. Basic survival skills, Monique wrote. Interesting. All right. Basic math, Sam wrote. Awesome. So we're already, for what it's worth, getting into a really nice back and forth here, because Shanae is offering a response here, and Shanae's response seems to be like critical thinking is required for a lot of these. What do you think about Shanae's response here? Most of this stuff seems to be linked to critical thinking. Don't you think communication and critical thinking go hand to hand? What about English? What about social skills? Isn't there a critical aspect to social skills? Survival skills, doesn't that require some sort of basic critical thinking? Isn't math like all about critical thinking? What do y'all think? What do y'all think about this as a response? I'm going to call on Hashir now. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
So to Shanae's response, I think a lot of these you don't really think about when you're doing them. Like when you're communicating, you're not really thinking. You already know. You learn from others, so you're not actively critically thinking about these skills while you're going on your day.
Okay, so one of the things that you're getting at right here is you're thinking that like there's one way of understanding how to interpret critical thinking where that's separate from these particular skills. So this to me implies that there might be another another sort of concern is that critical thinking means a bunch of different things to different people. And it seems like there are some people in our class right now who are suggesting that critical thinking is a part of all of this stuff, and they're defining critical thinking like very broadly. Where Hashir very reasonably seems to be suggesting that critical thinking is its own separate sort of conscious activity that might be separate from some of the more sort of intuitive, where you're not consciously thinking about it, skills along the lines of communication and social skills and the like. So yeah, there might be this way of like, what are we even talking about when we're talking about critical thinking? How could this be the most important class when so many people mean so many different things when it comes to critical thinking? So that's interesting. By the way, Facundo also mentioned active listening as an important skill beyond communication, English, social skills, basic survival, and math. So I feel like I'm running out of room here, but maybe I can add it. Listening as a skill. There we go. Just barely fitting it. But yeah. Cool. And I'm trying to catch up on the chat right now with all of this. So Emma also says, what's the most important class depends on who you are and what your goals are. So I think there's something interesting about this. I'm going to actually start listing these as separate separate reasons. So it seems like what Emma's suggesting here, I really like this, is that most important is subjective to one's goals, right? So I can imagine, I don't know if somebody has already written in this, but Monique agrees that let's say you are particularly interested in becoming a zoologist, then the most important class to you is probably going to be a zoology class and not this class. And likewise, if you are absolutely committed to becoming a sociologist, then a sociology class might be the most important class to you. It really depends on your goals. What do you want to do with your life? And critical thinking is probably not going to be somebody's top goal. So there might be a reason to think that this isn't the most important class. So I like that way of thinking through this. To get to some of our other things, Facundo in the chat wrote, before you can cook your food, you need to know what ingredients to pick and use to make the best tasting recipe. Critical thinking is needed before so the other aspects abilities can be done correctively, effectively. So this is one way of maybe thinking about another type of response. I think of this as a response to the subjective to one's goals. You might think that critical thinking is foundational in the sense that Facundo is describing, right? Of course, cooking might be your ultimate goal, but in order to cook, you need critical thinking skills before you can be an effective cook. Maybe in order to become an effective zoologist, you need critical thinking skills before you can even be good at a zoology class, right? In that sort of way. So maybe even if maybe there's something like universally foundational about critical thinking skills that Facundo seems to be suggesting. So interesting. So it seems like some of us are agreeing with what Facundo is saying. Continuing on in the chat, Isabel writes, critical thinking for some people may bring them to seriously consider a lot of claims which challenge their basic worldview, which could cause them a lot of stress and anxiety. So here we've got another sort of concern, and the concern here is that there are other things of value in life. And some of those things of value in life might be framed in terms of mental health, might be framed in terms of stability and security, and to the extent that critical thinking might clash with those sorts of concerns, critical thinking might be less important as a result. Awesome. And Sinead wrote, even when you do not take this specific critical thinking class, you still have a mindset to think before you do. That feels like a nice echo of what Facundo is saying there. I like that. Shantae is like, I think critical thinking weaves into every skill low key, though. Yeah, and that seems to be sort of connecting with what Facundo is saying as well. Isabel points out a really good point. There are lots of classes which could claim to be foundational, though. I like this. So we've got, in this case, this is almost like we're doing our own discussion board right now, but we've got a reply to this response. Other classes claim to be foundational. Can anyone think of another class out there that says, like, you need these skills for every other class? In the same way that, like, I might be claiming that for a critical thinking class. What are some other classes that are like, we're all doing this? Yeah, Shanae says every class. A bunch of y'all are saying math, right? And Sheer says algebra. Barbara says math. All the gen ed classes Amanda puts forward. Isabel says, as a sociology major, I'd argue sociology is foundational. Communications classes. 2 people at the same time wrote communications. Language, entry English classes. I'm going to call on Olivia, who has their hand raised. Go ahead, Olivia.
Hi, so I'm thinking about like how everybody's saying math and stuff. Like math, I feel like math isn't just a class where we're doing like annoying problems and solving stuff, but it does have a lot to do with critical thinking because you have a situation, and like in general with life, like if you have a situation, you have to figure out and like set out all the factors of what is going to happen. So say something like there's a situation, you have to think about what will happen, why is this happening, how are people going to react, and that's just how I feel about it.
Yeah, I like what you're saying there, right? Yeah, we got lots of people saying, I need intro to blank class, right? So there is something about this. So to me, I think one of the things this suggests is another type of critique. And this sort of critique is, we've heard this BS before. It feels like every teacher says, this class is super important, right? They're just like, this class is going to be the most important. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to get rid of it. Every teacher talks about the value of their class and sort of hypes up how important this is for the rest of your life. And I don't know if you're anything like me, if you look back on all your classes, how many of that was actually true for? How many of those classes were you like, damn, she was right? Oh, wow. I didn't realize it at the time, but Helen says 0, right? Like, how many of those math classes were you like, damn, I'm really glad I learned that? How many of those communication classes were like, you know what, that was really right? Some of you might be like, yeah, it was true for some of them, but for a lot of them, it wasn't true. So there's like a deserved skepticism for some random dude sitting on your screen right now yelling that this is going to be a super important class. You are totally legit to have a worry, to be skeptical of me making big, grandiose promises, right? So Hashir said, my 6th grade math teacher did the math is the most important and tried to tie it into every situation. I dislike her very much. So it sounds like you weren't convinced. Barbara says only kindergarten, right? Have you ever, there's a pretty popular book that goes, everything I learned in, everything I need to know in life, I learned in kindergarten, or something like that, that suggests that like all of life's basic skills are learned in kindergarten. So yeah, there might be something to this critique number 5 that we hear. Getting back to some of the other things that people are writing, but Barbara writes, but maybe there are different steps to critical thinking, like basic learning is the start, then it steers into another direction. I like that sort of thought. Olivia also writes, it helps you to learn to think outside the box. So I like that way of thinking about things. Isabel says, maybe not the actual class itself, but stuff you learn in the class, not material, but other skills. Yeah, so there's an interesting thing. Just as a little side note, for this class, I'm going to focus a lot on skills. I'm not going to focus a lot on, like, I don't know, typical, like, you got to memorize this, you got to know all the bones of the body type of, like, flashcard type stuff. A lot of this class is like completely skill-based. You're just learning these techniques, and I just keep practicing these techniques. Then I keep throwing new things at you for you to continue practicing the skills here. Helen said, my pre-calc teacher tried to say that it was the most important class. All I learned was that she wanted me to fail. Oh, that's so sad. I get really sad about the educational system when I hear all of these tragic stories. Isabel writes, a lot of people don't take a critical thinking class and turn out to be successful. Yeah, so Isabel's pointing out a concern that this class might not be necessary, right? Even if it's, in some sense, super important, it might not be necessary. Lots of people don't take this class and succeed and flourish. They do fine, so for sure. Shanae writes, you don't need to take the critical thinking class to know what it means, right? Yeah, so there's something a little bit about this, something related that Isabel and Shanae seems to be hinting at here. Maybe I'll call this like 6A. Critical thinking is a part of lots of classes. How many of your other classes have claimed to say, like, in this class, we're going to learn deep critical thinking skills? This class, like, at its heart, is just about critical thinking. Most of what we're doing here are trying to develop critical thinking skills. I feel like lots of your other classes have said that. Shantae's like, all, right? Yeah, right? Yeah. The biggest lie. I really like that. I really like that, Najwa. So, yeah, there's something about this, right? Where it's just like, why would you need a separate critical thinking class when all these other ones are claiming it? All right, to go back up in the chat a little bit here, let's see. Isabel, in response to Shanae, says, okay, but do you know what critical thinking means, though? That goes back to the second thing. Critical thinking means different things to different people. Monique writes, but I mean, understand why the teachers claim that their class is important. Like, if the teacher doesn't advocate for their class and say it's not important, then why would the students take the subject or the teacher seriously? Yeah, I'm with you on that, right? There's like, you know, you got to advocate for yourself in these moments. So, but maybe that's all I'm doing though, right? If I'm just trying to get you motivated. but it's just to try to get you to pay attention. You learn this at a very young age, Shanae writes. Nice. Isabel says, it's very possible to think you understand something, but it turns out it means something completely different. Oh, there is something, yeah. That's happened to me a ton of times. This is a big teacher thing, by the way, because one of the things I learned right away as a teacher is there's a big difference between thinking I understand something passively versus I understand something to the degree that I'm able to teach it to others. Because when I start trying to teach something I think I understand to others, I often realize like, whoa, I don't get this nearly as much as I think I do. Just me trying to communicate my understanding to others shows there's like gaps in where I thought I understood, but I don't. Shanae says, I find it very interesting that you go about your day and not think about how to solve a problem. Yeah, hence critical thinking. Yeah, choose the best idea. Yeah, Isabel writes, critical thinking isn't something you need to learn, but you can improve your critical thinking. Okay, so yeah, that's going back to number 6. It's not necessary. Monique writes, they might not take a critical thinking class to be successful, but maybe you're learning critical thinking in another way or in another class, whether it be subconsciously or unsubconsciously. Yeah, so a lot of this goes back to the idea of what one's goal is, right? And one of the goals that people put forward is like, well, classes matter because they help you be successful or they help you flourish. Well, what if that's not your goal? Is critical thinking important if you have different goals that aren't about being successful? What if you don't want to make the most money on the planet? What if the way you define flourishing and success is different from others? Is critical thinking going to be important and helpful for that? So Najwa says, you're speaking facts. Oh my God, there's a very big difference. I love this. Yeah, so Shanae's like, we should just make this a discussion post. So this is probably a good time. I'm not going to resolve this right now. As a matter of fact, I think of a lot of next week, I'm going to start to well, basically this whole semester, I'm going to try to make the case for the importance of this class. You're only really going to be able to tell this in retrospect. We're going to revisit this in the final week of the class, and by then you'll have at least a little bit of perspective. But as some of y'all mentioned, like, it can often take years for you to realize how important something was back in the day, right? There's like some stuff I learned when I was 18 that I only figured out was important in my 30s. Like I was like, oh, wow, that really mattered. I didn't realize it at the time, but that was super important, right? So it's good. You're never going to really be able to figure this out, but you certainly aren't going to be able to super figure this out right now. But this, I think, is as good a place as any to sort of like wrap up what we're talking about in class right now. And what I'm going to do is now remind you about this week's discussion question, like you all were saying. What we were just talking about right now is that I'm claiming this is the most important class you're ever going to take. I want you to consider, just in terms of a percentage, how much you personally think you're going to wind up agreeing with my claim by the end of the semester. You could give it literally a 0% chance, that's being super duper skeptical. You could give it a 100% chance, that's being super, like, I already agree with Sean and nothing's going to change my mind. More likely you're going to be somewhere in the middle, like 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%, 60%, 70%, 80%, 90%, somewhere along the lines of there. Tell me, what percent chance do you think that my claim is going to wind up being true? You're going to wind up agreeing with it. And I want you to tell me why. What are your reasons? We've already discussed 6 or 7 reasons why somebody could be skeptical. We've discussed some responses to some of those reasons. Tell me your thought process. What's resonated the most with you? And then try to like think in terms of crystal ball into the future. What do you think could happen during the semester to increase these odds, to take you from 20% to 50%, or from 50% to 90%? What do you think could happen to lower this probability? What could happen in this class to take you from 50% down to 20%, or from 80% down to 30%? Try to answer all of these questions. Your first response, I'm looking for about 1 paragraph response. It's usually about like 5 to 8 sentences, somewhere along the lines of that. Najwa says, do the percentages have to be in tens, or can it be a number like 44%? Absolutely, it could be 44%. If you want to be super specific, you could be like, I think there's an 82.57% chance. You can be super specific, whatever you want, absolutely. All right, and remember your initial posts due Saturday, and your 2 replies are due Wednesday. I'm going to sign off for now. Well, no, I'm going to end class for now, but not sign off. So if anybody wants to talk with me, I'll be around for the next 5 minutes or so, hanging out in this live session. But we're done for the day, so I will see you all.